Hello, I decided to make another example game with black castling on the queen side in the advanced range. So we have these moves in, black playing now knight c6, knight f3, bishop d7, and white now playing a3, which would be the normal main line if black had played the queen to b6. And now in those lines, white's idea is to play b4. Similarly, if you have seen my Molander Korchnoi video, the ideas are pretty similar. But if I haven't played queen b6 and rather play queen c7, the situation comes a little bit different, because I might not want to castle on the king side, but I might be planning to castle on the queen side and answer b4 with c4, like I discussed in my own example game, castling on the queen side. So white has to be careful about this kind of ideas. On the other hand, a3 might not be that bad of the move, because it adds some support to b4 after white has maybe taken here, and then he might play c4 immediately afterwards and try to open the d file maybe. So there are it's not so clear, but white has to remember not to let me play c4. And this is actually an example game what happens when white doesn't take this into consideration. Okay, white makes a normal developing move, bishop b2. I play f6, which I feel is a good idea to play when you can play it. And now white of course has the question in his mind: will he play bishop f4 or take? Those are the options now. Now notice that once this bishop goes to e2, it's much more difficult to defend e5 from e1 or with the queen e2. So that's why I think f6 is well timed, played after bishop e2. Okay. So white decides to take, and I take, and now he plays b4. So I'm not sure if this is a complete mistake, but at least it makes my game a lot easier, feel a lot easier at least. I play c4, and now the position is locked here, so the queen side is more locked. Now I will be aiming to create a situation on the queen side where I will have locked pawns, such as, for example, they would be if I would have a pawn on b5 and a4, and he would have pawn on a3 and b4. Probably this is not going to happen. He's going to come forward with these pawns, and then I will lock them probably here. Maybe we'll have a situation where his pawns are here and my pawns are here, or the opposite, that his pawns are on b6 and a5 and my pawns are on b7 and a6. So I'm looking for this kind of situation in the future. Okay, he castles on the king side, and now you notice that I'm already ahead in the attack because I have the open g file, and also I have opened this diagonal. So white doesn't have that good opportunities for attack yet. But I don't castle quite yet because I don't want to show my hand. Well, white probably knows that I will castle this queen side, so it doesn't matter that much. But bishop d6 is handy, because now in the event of b5 I can drop the knight to e7, where it will continue either the f5 or the g6 and f4, or maybe h4 at some positions. Nevertheless, now that c4 is played, I want to make the comment that this knight will not stay on c6, because it is on the way now, and if white has time to play a4, a5 and then plays b5, then this knight is poorly placed here, because then he can immediately continue after the knight moves with b6 and open some lines on the queen side. Okay, a4, castles queen side, a5, and now actually a5 is kind of a threat. Maybe now he would imagine that b5 is a threat, but I felt that I will handle the position. If he plays b5 next, I can take on a5, and then just play b6, and I think my knight is quite rock solid there. And also his pawn on b5 will be weak then. So I just play h5, which could be replaced. You might also want to play just simply knight d7 and continue with knight f5 and then bring this knight to e7. But I felt that h5 is a useful move. I might also consider in the future to play knight h6 after this and then play knight g7 and the other knight on f5. And also because I think that white needs to play g3 at some point, then h4 will come very fast. So I think h5 is a useful move to play. Okay, white continues with knight a3, and now he's making this threat, which I absolutely have to take into consideration because it will take my bishop away, forking my queen and bishop. So I absolutely don't want this to happen, because this bishop is an excellent piece attacking all the way to h2 now, and I don't want to get rid of it. So knight d7 is forced, more or less. He continues with bishop e3. Now actually this bishop e3 is a partial mistake, because this bishop might become very, very weak here. And the point is that after I play knight h5, he has less of a chance to play g4, because as these pawns support it, but this f pawn also supports e3, so he might have some problems as the knight attacks both them, and at some point also this might be a fork at some point. So he needs to take this into consideration. I think bishop e3 is not a good position for the bishop. He should just continue with some ideas of immediate queenside attack. So knight f5, so I'm immediately making some threats on e3. Queen c2, I think this is also a mistake. He should protect the bishop on maybe d2, because now some ideas of taking on e3 and bringing another knight from e7 to f5 come into place. Knight g7, he brings a rook on the b file, and actually that is a mistake, and also I don't take that into consideration, that mistake. I play rook to g8, which I think was the natural move, but I had even stronger. I had knight takes e3, and it is extremely strong here, because he has to take back with f pawn, and then I bring the other knight. And why I didn't play this, I considered during the game that he will play e4 here, but actually I can bring my knight strongly here inside his position, and now this knight is doing a lot of damage. And if the queen will drive away, it will come this way, and now there's a lot of strength on h2, and a natural move for white then is h3 to drive the knight away, but then bishop f4, and now you can see that the knight is returning on e3 and then attacking and on h2 g2, sorry, and that will become a very, very weak pawn after that. Also some ideas, because he has played this h3, g3 is very weak, so I have ideas of playing bishop e3 and then queen g3 and just mating him. Okay, so actually that would be very strong for me, but I continued rook d to g8, which is also quite strong, but just not as strong. Okay, he continues with b5. Now I play a very, very important move. As I explained, I don't want to open some lines here. If the a file opens, white will have counterplay. If the b file opens, white will have a lot of counterplay. So there is one move which is actually, I learned it from Petrosian, and that is queen to b8. And why I learned it from Petrosian, because this is the kind of situation that happened in Petrosian Spassky, or Spassky Petrosian rather. Very similar position, where Petrosian actually moved his pawn so that he could have this position, and now I have the cards that if white plays b6, I can play a6, and if white plays a6, I can play b6, and the queen side will remain closed. no matter what happens. Okay, so this is a great position for me. And notice that kingside is open and will open even more after maybe h4, h3, and I have also this idea so all the time. Okay, so white was very unfortunate to play b4 to allow me to play c4, and now he tries to make that up by taking on c4, but this is too little too late. So he sacrificed the knight. I just double queen b3, so it has some ideas on this diagonal, but really there are nothing because he doesn't have much pieces to follow up with the attack. So I just double, takes on e6, and I take on g2, and now practically the game is over. I take on e6, and like you see, while this queen might look like it's well placed and he has a lot of potential of attacking with the pawns, the fact of the matter is he doesn't have anybody to support the queen. And also I have pieces here doing a lot of damage, and he just doesn't have any time. And now at this moment his rooks look a little bit silly on b1 and a1. They are not participating in the attack. So white continues c4, I take on e3, and f takes e3, and now practically the game is over after bishop takes h2. Now he would have to retreat with the queen to h3. That would be the only good move, but honestly his position is just falling apart here. d5 is just desperation, and after queen g3 there's little to be done to stop the mate coming from f2, so that is just the end of the game. Okay, I think this was quite a straightforward game, showing the problems of white letting black play c4 after he plays b4, letting me play c4, and I think that just made the game. And another point was that after he played b5 too late, I could play queen b8 and have this position where I can just lock the center whenever I want. If white plays this way, I can play my pawns this way, or vice versa. If white plays his pawns this way, I can play my pawns this way. So the queenside will remain locked. That is another point of this game to show. Okay, I hope you like this. This was all.